Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, for whatever reason, have decided to listen to another horrible gaming podcast. I am not alone. Usually I am never alone. With me is...
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
Guys, as previously mentioned some time ago at this point, Neil is taking 2 weeks off, so we pre-recorded a couple of shows. One with Grandpa Gamer, which you have probably already seen. And then this one with, obviously, Neil. But we recorded this like 3 days after we recorded the last one. I think this actually is being recorded on the day the one that we warned you guys about went up. So, with that in mind, we're not doing fan interaction for either the last episode or this one. We will be doing it next week. So stay tuned for that. But keep commenting. Get all your comments in there, good and the bad. And we'll read them and talk about them next time. What we decided to do today for a special episode. So this is going to be a very short episode. Just a little snippet because we're just kind of trying to squeak this in.
Just an appetizer.
Yeah, that's it. We're just trying to squeak this in around other recordings and other stuff. So this isn't going to be super long. But what we're going to do today is we're going to be pitching video game movies.
Video games.
I did that wrong.
I did the homework wrong then.
We're going to be pitching video game movies. Each of us are only going to do one, unlike other horrible arenas. So that's why it should be a relatively small, short, concise show. But we've each come up with a movie, director, plot, synopsis, actors, all of that fun stuff. And we're going to go ahead and throw that at you and see what you guys think of it. But before we do, we have to thank the people who make this possible. Behind our ugly mugs, you're seeing a custom graphic that was provided by Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother, Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that. And we will be right back with the only thing this show is going to be, our pitches.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the show, baby. We've each come up with a video game, a movie based on a video game. We've come up with the actors, we've come up with the directors, we've come up with the pitch. I am on record as saying I don't think movies based on video games are good ideas. So did I pitch something that might be a good idea? Well, we'll have to see. We did a lot of talking in between the break, and we
didn't talk about who's going first. Yeah,
who's going first?
Yeah, the second we started this, I'll tell you, I did. I'll go ahead and go first on this one.
Go for it.
Because this is one of the ones, normally when we do these sorts of things, I have to make sure I have every single solitary word typed out ahead of time, or else I'm not going to make it flow. But I feel like this one, I have enough confidence in that I can go with very minimal notes on this.
I love when these do these pitch shows because it's like sweat pouring down your brow. Like, did I type enough? Did read, I type whereas enough? Yes. Me, if I type it up, I'm going to fuck up. It has to just come out of my mouth hole. All right, go ahead. Why don't you start us off then?
So what I am going to put forth for your consideration may be a little bit of a bending of the rules, to be absolutely fair.
Okay.
But it would actually be, what do you call it, like a series that only has two movies? A duology?
I don't know, because you just have the first one and the sequel, right?
A
pair,
double feature.
Double
feature. No, double feature. Well, I guess that's just what we'll go with here. But I feel like it would require two movies to tell the story of.
Okay.
And that is going to be Metroid. So what I would put forth is it would cover 1, 2, Other M, and 3, or Super Metroid. So in this, the first 2 movies basically would be the first part of it to establish everything with Samus and everything with like what she does, but don't go too deep into it. It would be more of like a popcorn flick sort of situation. You know, you just got this female bounty hunter going through the planet, killing monsters and getting down to the core of the planet, taking out Mother Brain, taking out Ridley and Kraid along the way and fighting the Metroids, and then getting the assignment of eradicating the rest of the Metroids and finishing everything off with her attachment to the baby Metroid. Now from there, we would end up having the Other M. While the game was not necessarily received very well, it had a lot of backstory, character development, established some interesting story points about Samus and her history, about how her family was killed, and then she joined the Galactic Federation, where she met Adam Malkovich, who basically turned into like this almost like Big Brother sort of father-ish figure, role model, and set her down the path effectively of, I guess, pseudo revenge going after Ridley. But from there, you would have that character development, that emotional storytelling of what has happened to her in her life, pairing that with the fact of everything regarding the baby Metroid. If you're familiar with those games, the baby Metroid ended up being stolen away after it attached itself to her, basically like she was its mother, being stolen away, and then that little baby Metroid ended up saving her life from the actual reincarnation of Mother Brain. Now, who would be doing what? Is the real question with this here. So first and foremost, especially given what I know of like how Metroid Prime presents itself, I feel like the atmosphere and everything would be great for Ridley Scott to take these.
Oh wow.
Pretty familiar with the space. You get the horror aspect of everything, which is kind of woven in. But from there, the actors associated with Brie Larson has basically almost auditioned for the role. She's done a cosplay sort of situation, saying, "Hey, I would be all about this." She actually would be a pretty good fit. She's already a natural blonde, anyways.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to worry about other individuals potentially that may not be necessarily as familiar with everything, but it's kind of cheating because there's really only 2 actual human characters in the Metroid series. I mean, there are others, but they're all secondary. They're really no names. Even honestly, Adam Malkovich isn't as important as he may seem. He was kind of came late to everything, but Adam Malkovich would actually be played by Joe Manganiello, because we need a big, strong, beefy man who is also a nerd and probably familiar with the lore as well of all of that. And I feel like the only one who could do the soundtrack for these movies would be Hans Zimmer. The epic, powerful, because Metroid is known for its music. One of the things it's known for is its music. The epic, powerful soundtrack when it needs to be there, but the also like dark, heavy, tense orchestral music where it also needs to be there in those creepy moments that are really kind of scattered about within a Metroid game. I want it so bad. And I'm hoping one day that Nintendo will take that risk after the Mario movie and the the fabled Legend of Zelda movie that's apparently supposed to be in development at some point, someday, one day. The one thing that I would say that Hollywood would have to kind of be reserved on with this, though, is Metroid is one of those to where it's not a franchise that can go forever. It's one of those, because then they just be, you know, spouting whatever randomness. You could absolutely go ahead and do, like I had suggested, 1, 2, 3, and Other M split across 2 separate movies, but you couldn't really do a whole heck of a lot beyond that unless you decided to do the Prime trilogy, in which case those would have to be their own individual movies. But then at that point, you're really catering to a very specific audience.
Right.
I feel like those 4 original ones could be adapted and told in such a way, because Metroid doesn't have that heavy story.
Right.
It's there if you want it, but there's just enough there to give it structure. So you can have those liberties being taken with, you know, how creatures look, or if something to write out something or expand upon something to make the story in these movies flow a little bit better, without just completely being bogged down in the thing that we've talked about constantly, in the you must follow exactly what the story is, and if you deviate from it, it is ruined. There's enough there to put forth with that, I think.
That is an awesome idea. I really do. I am curious, would you give the monsters voices?
No.
No.
No, this is going to be an I Am Legend situation.
Okay.
It is going to be Brie Larson. I don't know if she would have the ability to do this, because it's a tall ask of any actor.
I mean, honestly, my only issue is Brie Larson. I don't know. She's never really, like, her acting has never really resonated with me, I guess is the best way to say it. Like, she's just never, like, Captain Marvel's terrible. And, like, you know what I mean? And I don't think her heart's in that, but, like, every time I see her, like, I just feel like she's not putting into the role what I'd like to see out of it. But that being said, all those monsters have, like, a very specific character to them. Like, not necessarily a character, but they all have names. You know what I mean? And shit like that. That's why I was asking if you give them voices or characters.
Oh, yeah. If anything was going to get a voice at all from everything that I'd mentioned, it's probably would be Mother Brain, and it would be some sort of, like, robotic, digitized something or other. But even that, like, Mother Brain, especially in Metroid 3, was presented as just, like, this drooling, mindless creature, ironically enough, even though it's just a giant brain, just snarling and just destroying things. Right. Nothing in Metroid outside of that is really presented any other way. The only time we really get, like, characters outside of what I had mentioned here is in Metroid Prime 3, and that was honestly not done very well, because it's one of those... Samus is one of those silent protagonists,
right?
To where you only need to say very little, even in games where, even in Metroid Dread, when they gave her a voice, it was in, like, the Chozo language. So I mean, even that is kind of iffy on everything. But you would have to, I feel like it would have to be, like, where it's just her inner monologuing, or, like, doing whatever it is she needs to do. The only time there would be actual, like, dialogue would be in, like, a flashback that would be established from the Other M.
It would definitely be more impactful if she didn't talk through most of the action scenes. I think the only alien I'd give a voice to is Ridley, just because Ridley's the one that, like, she's in there to kill, right? Like, that could be the rivalry kind of thing that you get. But I see where you're going with that. I'm not going to argue with your vision, so to speak. I was just curious. That'd be interesting. I would definitely go see them. For sure. What's weird to me, just on a complete digression, is I don't know if you're old enough for this, honestly, but there was this Saturday morning cartoon show when I was very young called Nintendo Power. I
know of it. I never saw it.
So, like, it was one of those, like, each week this group of good video game characters would fight this group of bad video game characters, and no one ever killed each other. But, like, they just got defeated. And the leader of the bad guys was Mother Brain. And it had a voice like this. Oh, crying! Like that. So like every time you like when you're like, oh, she doesn't have a voice, I just think, oh, I'm like, oh no.
I'm gonna have to look that up because
like just commanding King Hippo around from Punch Out. It is. It's totally horrendous. Okay. So I think it's really cool. I think Ridley Scott's a big ask, but if he'd do it, he would knock it out of the park for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so are we ready for mine then?
We are.
All right, so I am on record as saying that the video game movies that truly work, and of course there's exceptions to the rule, Sonic, but like the video game movies that truly work are one of two things. One is a side story, something in the universe that doesn't necessarily mess with the canon of what you were playing with, right? That's not what I decided to pitch. The other one is a game that is a premise more than a game itself, that you can kind of overlay what you need over it. It's a good idea, but it's blank enough of a canvas to put your own characters in, put your own story in. So, you're going to be so mad that I picked this game, but I'm going to pick Chained Together, the movie. Chained Together is kind of a viral sensation. It is a co-op game, a co-op kind of puzzle platformer where it's third person. You are chained to another person who is actually playing, or up to 4 people. And then you have to climb through this megalithic structure. And basically you start in hell. You're trying to escape hell. And if you can make the top, you escape. Basically, the entire time the devil's kind of taunting you, and yeah, that's Chained Together. It's one of those like brutally punishing games. It's not really made that well, but it's a viral sensation because of what it is and the interesting ideas that it puts forth. It only costs like $6 on Steam, I think, something like that. I only know of this game because Neil put this game forth towards me. That and the Game Grumps played it. And I was like, oh, I'll watch it. And then when they were playing it, I came up with this idea for a movie. The idea for the movie is this, because the entire premise is the devil is bored. He wants entertainment. So he builds like this huge metholithic structure that if you reach the top, you get to go back to Earth and try again, basically. And then he taunts you the whole way. What I would do is I would change this up. What I would do is I would say, the devil is bored. The devil played by Kurt Russell, because Kurt Russell will always be in a movie I pitch. But he is going to be the devil. I also don't think he's ever gotten to play the devil. So he will be the devil. He's gotten bored, as usual. He has built this megalithic structure. But we're not just dealing with 2 people chained together. It is going to be hundreds of groups. Everybody in hell has to pair off and get chained to somebody and try to make it to the top before the other ones. They're basically immortal, but they have to fight their way through this structure all the way to the top. So it is this kind of like battle royale, action-packed, constant thing to the top. And I'm going to make it a buddy movie, because what I want Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds in my lead. They're going to be my 2 guys chained together. Ryan Reynolds is a dude who just wasted his whole fucking entire life on coke and hookers, and now he's down here. He's realized what hell is, and he just wants a second chance because he realizes how bad it is. However, Wesley Snipes, and this is where it's going to get interesting, Wesley Snipes was a heavily devout Christian man in real life, but his daughter was killed by another person. We're going to get to that person in a second. So Wesley Snipes is unable to rectify it, turn the other cheek, and murders the person who killed his daughter, which sends him to hell. So he believes he belongs in hell. He has no interest in climbing, which is going to make some of the interesting hijinks in the very beginning, because Ryan really wants to get out, and old-ass Wesley Snipes doesn't want to. But we're going to find out that our bad guy, our villain character, is actually going to be portrayed by Henry Cavill, because he loves shit like this. And he's a big, scary motherfucker. He's the guy who killed Wesley Snipes' daughter. And he is trying to get out. Wesley Snipes is going to realize that, and realize that he has to beat him there so that he doesn't get out. So then it just becomes this, like, We're going to mix in John Wick style action scenes with ridiculous jokes and buddy banter between Wesley Snipes, who is obviously going to be the straight man, and Ryan Reynolds, who is just making terrible jokes the entire time, while the devil and imps taunt everybody and make weird play-by-play calls when people are like thrown off the top or like impaled on something, stuff like that. The director of this is going to be Jordan Peele, because I think that man knows how to do both comedy and horror and action all superbly well. So he will be able to lead this project all the way to its inevitable conclusion. And if I were lucky enough, I would have him write it too. So that is my pitch, Chained Together, because it's enough of a movie. It's enough of a concept to where you could be like, yeah, this is chained together, but there's nothing to chain together the game as far as actual like narrative story. It's just climb this thing, get out. So you could just overlay all of this shit, and nobody's gonna be like, oh, that's not canon, because it doesn't fucking matter. So like, you could just overlay all this shit. You can have a ton of fun doing it. You can have all these actors having tons of fun. It also lends for just... And this is something Ryan Reynolds obviously does really well with Deadpool and Wolverine, but it lends to cameos out the asshole. It's just like every other person, every other group out there is a cameo, you know? Like, he's killing Aubrey Plaza, he's killing Nick Swanson, you know, he's killing Amy Poehler, you know, like, just cameo after cameo after cameo up the side of the building. And I think that would be just, it would just be popcorn fun all the way around.
And just think about the monetization that they could have selling skins for the game. Oh, Lord.
The Chained Together people would just be like, oh, please, Daddy, give me some more.
So, you know, it's funny that you mention Jordan Peele and like that horror but comedy but action sort of situation. Mm-hmm. Because when you were starting to talk about this and how it was being framed, I could almost see this as a Blumhouse movie. Yeah. Because they've started doing that. It's horror / but has that comedy part in it, like Happy Death Day and there was that other one that was like Freaky Friday, but with serial killers.
Oh, the one with Vince Vaughn and the girl.
Yes, God, yes, that sort of stuff. Yeah. That is a genre that I'll tell you, because I hate scary shit. I've never liked scary shit. But that there is that perfect, like when things just feel like too tense, they're going to throw some jokes in there. They're like, okay, I'm back. I'm cool now. That feels like one of those, because it can be like the visuals of hell and like people suffering and being like brutalized and tortured and ripped to pieces. And then just, I can see Ryan Reynolds with his hands on his hips. It's like, well, that looks like a bad day, or, you know, some stupid shit that he would say, like, you know,
Kurt Russell can quip with the best of them as well, even at 70. So he's perfect for that, like, devil role of just walking through, like, he doesn't have enough pineapples up his ass, you know, like something like that. And like, the Jordan Peele thing was tough, because at first I was going to do Chad Stahelski, because I love him. I love him in all his movies. But then I was like, no, there's got to be some comedy. There's got to be, like, somebody's got to have comedy chops that does this, because it's got to have that, like, like funniness moments. And I think Jordan Peele would just ace this, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Was he? I could be totally wrong with you. You were talking about Kurt Russell's Never Been Satan.
I don't think so. It's been a while. He might have been.
It's been a while since I've seen it, so I could be totally wrong. But was he the devil in Little Nicky? Who was the devil in Little Nicky?
Oh, that was Nick. He's Harvey Keitel.
Okay.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel in Little Nicky. That was
okay. I don't know why I had it in my head that was him.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm pretty familiar with Kurt Russell's library. I don't believe he's been Santa Claus, and arguably the best,
arguably
the best Santa Claus. I've watched both those movies, but I don't think he's ever been the devil. No, I don't think he's ever been the devil. To my knowledge, he's definitely fought devils, but I don't think he's ever been the devil. I could be wrong. No, I'm not gonna like go to the bank on that one. But
He was Ego, which is close enough.
Ego is pretty close. Yeah, Ego's pretty close. And he had that snappy funniness in it there too. You know, like Kurt Russell 100%. Do this.
That sort of just like it's the swagger combined with the confidence that makes it so that he can anything he says, the right tone can turn it into a joke.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like you couple with the fact that like it's a juicy role that he maybe hasn't, at least if he has played it, it hasn't been super prominent. So like I think that makes him leap at this. And Wesley Snipes, we just saw him. Wesley Snipes was the hard pick because I really wanted an old man with Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is kind of old at this point too, but I wanted like a very visually old man for that part, for the Christian father part, and I was just looking through so many old guys. Like I thought about Jeff Bridges.
I literally, I was just thinking to myself when you said something about old people. I'm like, I don't know, Jeff Bridges may be a good one.
He's go-to old man. I know that
he is go-to old man.
He was first pick, but I want somebody really like who could still do the physical stuff because this would be a real heavy physical action. I even thought about just Hugh Jackman again, and then I was like, no, and then I was like, ooh. Wesley Snipes just did all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know he can still go. He hasn't been in movies forever other than that one because of obvious personal reasons, but I'm sure he's looking to get back in that kind of way. He is very good at being an on-screen straight man. Like an old, haggard Wesley Snipes with wisecracking ass Ryan Reynolds would just be golden. I don't care what anybody says. That'd put butts in seats.
Mm-hmm. That was solid. Yeah. I would see that.
Yeah, right. I'd see both these movies
because it's especially honestly, there's that stigma too. Like, if you can find a way to present a video game movie as not a video game movie, I feel like Chain Together is one of those ones that people would just go to see because like, oh, wait a second, this is a video game. It's kind of like with the Metroid one. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's a video game. It's obvious it's a video game. It's almost like what happened with when they did the live action One Piece. Yeah. I shared like a clip of it on Facebook, and then my dad was like, "Oh, what is this? What's this on?" It's like, "Oh, it's on Netflix," and I didn't like say anything else because I'm like, I really want to see where this goes. And he watched it all, and he's like, "I really liked it. It's great." It's like, well, let me tell you something.
Funny story. Now let me show you the one with talking animals.
It's like that was about 10. It was 8 to 10 episodes. There's over 1,000 of the actual show, and it was like, what? And I was like, yeah. So, and I pulled it up and like, okay, so this is Sanji, this is Luffy, everything like that. And he was like, oh, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. I love that stuff. I think. Also, man, can you just imagine the fucking set pieces and stunts with two people chained together, like climbing something? That so many action sequences could be like going off of it, using the chain against somebody, using the chain against somebody else, wrapping yourself around, holding somebody while fighting, them holding you while fighting. God, I could just, in my head, I could just be like, oh, I could do these sequences and they would be amazing. You know, like I could map these out.
I couldn't do those sequences.
No, not in real life.
Sequences.
I could like storyboard them out and it would just look amazing in my head. Like, no, I couldn't do them. No. There's not a chain big enough to hold me. All right. I think that's it, right? We did it, right?
Yeah, we did. We did the thing.
Obviously, very short episode, guys. Please leave your comments below. Here's what I want to hear. I want to hear what you thought about ours, and then tell us what you would pitch for yours. And like I said, we're going to have a big fan interaction episode when we come back. If you guys have, given us a lot of fan interaction on the past 3 episodes at this point. So put them in there. We'll talk about them. We'll be right back with the Plug-a-roos.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. We are recording this like 3 weeks before it's going to come out, so I don't know how much plug-a-roos we can do, but Neil.
Well, either it will be coming, or you may have seen, or at least there was the previous season of Ordo Scriptorium.
Yes.
Still going through that there. I do love the progress that we made in the last episode that we recorded, even though the abrupt ending to the recording
Which was my fault. It was, had a family emergency. And what sucks is we were just about to get into it was just all, just funny shit. And then that, we were right about to, all right, stuff's gonna happen now, and then it was like we gotta go. But
yeah, I feel
like
a
lot of drinking and getting to know each other, which is funny that we're not doing it until session 8.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I like a steady, natural character progression.
That's true.
I like that sort of the idea of, okay, so this is the first season, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is establishing the world and how it works, and then you break things down more from there. That sort of world building I love.
I am very much enjoying the progression of the Ordo game in a lot of ways. Nothing feels rushed, but nothing feels too slow. It's nice. I like it. As far as me, if you want to get our t-shirts, go to wizardsrespite.com, go to the shop tab, and then go to Old Man Gaming tab. But you could buy any shirts from Wizards Respite. I help him design shirts, so it would be awesome. As far as us, we have video games, we have TTRPG stuff, we have all sorts of that stuff.
We have video games? We sell video games?
No, we have video game content. Neil's being a prick.
That's weird. I heard we sell games now.
We have video game content. We have TTRPG content. Please check those out. I would appreciate that. I'm pretty sure if you like either one of those things, we will have something that interests you. And if you're a bunch of the people on the Genshin Impact review going absolutely batshit crazy on me, stop, man. Stop. Okay?
Oh.
Stop.
This is the first I'm hearing about this.
It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous out there.
You stuck your neck out there with the Monster Hunter crowd.
Oh, I know.
And now you're getting the Genshin people.
What's funny is the video is called Snap Judgment Review, right? Snap Judgment Review. In the first 2 minutes of the video, I disclaimer it where I say I have only played 5 to 10 hours with the game. I don't play more than 5-10 hours. That's the whole point of these reviews. I have just review after review is like, you haven't played enough of this game. You didn't play this game long enough. Yeah, this game doesn't get good until hour 6. I'm like, look. You're missing the point here. I play 5 to 10 hours. That's why it's a Snap Judgment Review. If I played more, it would just be called a review.
A review.
It's the whole point. They're just...
And I feel like the context that these people are missing is the fact that, not all of us have the ability to dump, 20 hours into a game before we decide if it's good or not.
What's insane, too, is the review is positive. I was very nice to the game. I could have been way meaner, but I was nice.
Well, you say one thing negative to upset a fan base, and that's it.
They're all mad at me about the microtransactions. And I'm like...
That's the dumbest thing to be mad about.
It's the dumbest thing.
Dumbest thing to be mad about.
I don't like that it's there. And they're like, well, they give you gems to, use the gacha thing, regularly. And I'm I don't like that it's there. Fuck you. It's a loot box. I don't care. I don't want to... If they gave me a gem to get a character that I wanted every so often, okay, cool. But I gotta, randomly spin a spinner every so often. I don't want that.
So I would love to see, too, the amount of people who are bitching about that, but compared to the amount of money they've actually put into that feature.
Right. Okay, well, we talked way too much about that. We're going to end the show now. You guys can reach us on Facebook at Old Man Gaming DH. That's true. Well, you can reach us on X at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. Influence us in all of our shows from there. As long as you guys keep watching and you keep listening, I will endeavor to keep making them. We'll see you guys next time.